The Jurassic Park franchise. Who can forget such classics of the sci-fi genre as Jurassic Park the Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, Jurassic World, and Jurassic City? Wait, what was that last one?
I'm sure most of you have already noticed, Jurassic City is not actually part of the Jurassic Park franchise. It is instead part of a growing trend in which B-grade movies are given a similar title to up-and-coming Hollywood blockbusters. This trend is nothing new. One doesn't have to look much further than the slew of films with Star in their name following the success of Star Wars to see that this has been going on for a long time. However, Jurassic City did something that Star Raiders never could. It thoroughly entertained me. In fact, the level in which I enjoyed this movie quite surprised me, as I went into it expecting it to be absolute trash. I had purchased the movie out of nothing more than morbid curiosity, having found it sitting between Jurassic Park 2 and Jurassic World in the DVD store. Because I spend my entire time watching movies, I already knew that of course Jurassic City wasn't part of the Jurassic Park franchise. However, the cover immediately piqued my curiosity. Firstly, if you look at the logo, the colour scheme and circle in the middle of the title immediately forces you to think of the Jurassic Park logo, albeit a cheaper version of it. In fact, the dinosaur's head on the front cover is almost even turned at the angle and direction of the one from the logo. Also, there are 4 slashes in the logo as if Wolverine has taken to it, and if you look at the Jurassic Park 3 logo, they have 3 slashes. This movie came out before Jurassic World came out, so I guess it staked its claim as Jurassic Park 4. The front cover also makes reference to Jurassic Park in the form of a pun, which immediately endeared me to this movie. You can also tell from the cover art, both on the front and the back, that this movie clearly isn't boasting the best 3D graphics. What it does, however, boast in the blurb is that a trio of hot sorority girls are going to have to pull all their wits together to battle these bloodthirsty creatures. So why am I bothering to point out to you that the cover of this DVD makes it very clear that the storyline is ridiculous and that the graphics have clearly been done with less than a $150 million budget? Well, mainly because it's received absolutely terrible reviews, and most of the people complaining on IMDb seem to be lamenting that the storyline is ridiculous and that it has bad graphics. So the reason that I'm making it so very clear that I was aware that this film was not a Hollywood blockbuster going into it is because I think that the way you go into a film definitely affects the way you enjoy a film. For instance, I went into the film expecting it to be absolute trash, with my fingers crossed that it would be at least so bad it's good. Instead, I got a thoroughly entertaining film, and it's at this point I'd like to warn everyone that this is not a spoiler-free review, so if you don't want spoilers, now is the time to stop watching. If you stopped watching the video before I said that, then you've done it wrong. So, what's the storyline in this film? Well, almost entirely, it follows a group of people trying to survive a velociraptor outbreak inside a prison. Now at this point, you're probably saying, hang on, Grim, didn't you just tell me this film was called Jurassic City and show me a front cover having a giant dinosaur, likely a T-Rex, I'm not a paleontologist so I don't bloody know, with helicopters and large other birds and whatnot, probably also winged dinosaurs fighting it out in a burning city. Yes, I did tell you that. I'm not the liar, that is what the front cover is, they're the ones lying, so don't go harking on at me. In fact, the only time you really see the city at all is in the last 2 minutes of the film, just before the credits come up. And aside from that, the only times you're outside of the prison is a couple of scenes in the suburbs, which they make a point of telling us is a suburb, so we can't count that as a city.
Captain?
We've tracked it down. Its location is smack dab in the middle of suburbia.
In fact, the blatant lie in the title and cover of this film is doubtlessly what inspired some of the unhappy reviews, although I just can't get mad at it, because it's what made me buy the film, and if they hadn't tricked me into watching it, I wouldn't have watched it, and I wouldn't have enjoyed it. So it's the kind of lie that I'm going to let pass. Although that said, as I said, the film ends with it showing the city full of dinosaurs, so it almost feels like they're setting up for a sequel where the dinosaurs are in the city, which makes me think they probably should have called this film Jurassic Prison, and saved the title of Jurassic City for the sequel, which will actually be set in a city. If the creator happens to see this review, please call the sequel Jurassic Prison just to mess with everyone. The setup of the film explains both how the main characters, the sorority girls, and the dinosaurs end up in the prison. During this setup, we also get introduced to the prisoner Doyle, who is an antagonist in this film and apparently responsible for the rape and murder of about half a dozen girls.
Mr. McMoran had committed the rape and murder of almost half a dozen nurses at
which is actually a very vague number when you think about it, because is that, 5? 4? And half a dozen is 6, and are we equating that to close to 6? It is a bit strange that the news report wasn't a bit more specific about that. That said, being responsible for the rape and murder of any number above 0 makes you a bad person, so this section still manages to set him up as a bad guy pretty well. And considering our main characters are young girls, having the antagonist be responsible for such monstrous crimes sets up for some really intense cinematic scenes. As our young female protagonists fight to stay safe from the dinosaurs, they have to do so by locking themselves up with another evil. In fact, having the film set in a prison really allowed the filmmakers to juxtapose the monstrous nature found within some humans against the more childish fear of the prehistoric danger presented by our dinosaur. These two great antagonists presented by our prehistoric monstrosity and our monstrous human meet in an overall satisfying bout at the end. But what do I care about juxtaposition, you're saying? I'm no English major. What about the dinosaurs, Grim? Tell me about the dinosaurs. Well, the dinosaurs are fabulous. Which makes this moment, I think, to be a good point to talk about the graphics. As I said, the cover of the DVD clearly shows that the graphics weren't done by a $150 million budget. The reason I mention $150 million is because that was the budget of Jurassic World. I'm not just pulling that number out of my buttocks. And yes, sometimes the graphics in this film are not that fantastic, especially when we're seeing the city outside in the light, and there's occasional animation errors, for instance this part where the dinosaur moves through a physical object. But as I said, this is a low-budget, independent, B-grade film, so if you're going into it expecting Hollywood graphics, you're going into it wrong. And to be honest, as soon as I saw the dinosaurs for the first time, I was able to suspend my disbelief and accept that this is what the dinosaurs were. The CG effects in this film are at no point distracting, which means that they are 100% acceptable. The CG effects establish the level that they are at the start of the film, and they remain at this level. This is of extreme importance because it's when CG effects fluctuate through the length of a film that they become distracting. For instance, when the speeder crashed in Star Wars Episode 2, and looked worse than any of the effects before or afterwards in the movie, it really took me out of it, even the first time I was watching it in the cinema. But at no point was I similarly jarred while watching the TV series Hypernauts, despite it having worse graphics than the speeder chase throughout the entire length of the show. If a film establishes the quality of its CG effects and sticks to it, your brain is able to easily adjust to it. I had no issues with the CG effects in this film. And going beyond having no issue, the fact that the film is almost entirely set within the narrow corridors of a dark prison makes it extremely intense. It almost gives off an alien vibe in some parts, with the prisoners hiding in the dark, wondering if the monster is around the corner in the next dark corridor. And briefly back to the CG effects, the fact that the film is so dark covers a multitude of sins, and the dinosaurs actually look quite a lot better in the film in the prison than they do on the front cover of the DVD. And while the prison section of the film is treating us to an almost sci-fi horror style film, we're treated to some sci-fi action while the film's resident badass, Captain Talbot, is hunting down other dinosaurs that have escaped in the suburbs. This leads to some extremely satisfying grenade versus dinosaur action. The film includes some fantastic humor that made me chuckle quite heartily, especially this scene where the young girl who was tripping balls hallucinated the dinosaur as a bunny, and also includes action catchphrases that you would expect in a film like this.
I'm gonna blast that son of a bitch straight back to the Stone Age.
Come on, Talbot, dinosaurs are not from the Stone Age. They're from the Jurassic period. It's in the title of the film, man. And perhaps most importantly for a film featuring dinosaurs, the deaths in this film are fantastic. They range from cheesy to horrifying, and are never not enjoyable. As far as B-grade sci-fi goes, I would have to give this film an A. It manages to create a wonderfully dark atmosphere, has interesting characters, and fantastically enjoyable deaths. And, of course, most importantly, it has dinosaurs. Not only did I thoroughly enjoy this film, but I wholeheartedly hope it gets a sequel. So if you're a fan of sci-fi, and you enjoy dinosaurs going on a rampage, And if you've not been too spoiled by Hollywood's graphics that you're still capable of suspending your disbelief, even if the CG is not photorealistic, then I highly suggest you check out Jurassic City. It's a great dino flick that deserves to be rated higher than it is.
Thanks for watching. I have been and still am Grim Grindle.